Billionaire checked into a Miami Beach hotel until his ex appeared with a baby. The Uber from the airport took forever. Construction on Collins Avenue, then some kind of fender bender near 41st that had traffic backed up for blocks. Isla kept her phone face down on her lap, the screen lighting up every few minutes with notifications she wasn't going to look at. Mateo was finally asleep in his car seat beside her, his tiny fist curled against his cheek, and she wasn't about to risk waking him by moving around. The driver had the radio on low, some talk show in Spanish she wasn't really listening to. Outside, Miami Beach scrolled past in that late September heat that made the air thick enough to taste. Tourists in swimsuit cover-ups crossed against the light. A guy on a bike nearly clipped the car. The driver muttered something under his breath. Isla's friend Carmen had texted 3 times already. "Where are you?" Then, "Lobby or room?" Then, "Just tell the front desk my name, they'll let you up." She typed back one-handed. "Traffic. 10 min." Mateo stirred, made a small sound, then settled again. 6 months old, and he still didn't sleep through the night. She'd read all the articles, tried the routines, nothing worked. Some nights she just sat in the rocking chair in his room, holding him against her chest until her arms went numb, listening to the hum of the ancient AC unit that came with the apartment. The building she lived in was a 1960s walk-up in North Beach, 3 floors, no elevator, paint peeling near the stairwell. Her apartment was on the 2nd floor facing east, which meant morning sun that woke her up whether she wanted it or not. The place came furnished, which really meant it came with a sagging couch, a kitchen table with one wobbly leg, and blinds that didn't close all the way. She'd added what she could: a rug from Target, curtains that actually blocked light, a crib she'd assembled herself at 2 in the morning while 7 months pregnant, crying over the instructions. It wasn't much, but it was hers, which was more than she could say about the house in San Diego, the one she'd shared with Adrian for 8 years, the one with the view of the canyon and the kitchen she'd picked out tile by tile, the one she'd walked away from 15 months ago with 2 suitcases and a heart that felt like it had been put through a shredder. The Uber finally pulled up to the hotel, one of those boutique places on Ocean Drive with Art Deco details and valet parking and tourists taking photos in front of it. Isla paid, tipped, then carefully unclipped Mateo's car seat. He was still out. Small miracle. Inside, the lobby was all white marble and palm trees in oversized pots. The AC was cranked so high, she could feel goosebumps rising on her arms. A couple in matching linen outfits stood near the concierge desk, arguing in low voices about dinner reservations. Someone's suitcase had tipped over near the elevator, clothes spilling out onto the floor while a bellhop tried to help. Carmen was supposed to meet her here. She'd flown in yesterday for some work conference, and Isla had offered to come help with her bags since she was checking out early and had, 3 suitcases for a 2-day trip. Classic Carmen. Isla pulled out her phone, texted, "I'm here. Lobby." The response came back immediately. "Elevator's broken. Can you come up? 4th floor. 412. Of course the elevator was broken. She looked at Mateo, still asleep, then at the stairwell door across the lobby. 4 flights with a baby in a car seat. She'd done worse. Last week she'd carried him, the diaper bag, and 2 grocery bags up to her apartment in one trip because she didn't want to make 2. She was halfway to the stairs when she heard it. Her name. Not loud. Just clear. The way someone says a word they haven't said in a long time. "Isla?" She stopped, turned, and there he was. Adrian Keller, her ex-husband, standing near the front desk in dark jeans and a grey button-down with the sleeves rolled up. Hair a little longer than she remembered. Same height, same build, same way of standing like he owned whatever room he was in. He looked good. Tired, maybe, but good. Her brain didn't catch up right away. For a second, she just stood there holding the car seat, trying to figure out if she was seeing things. It had been, 15 months since she'd signed the papers, since she'd moved her stuff out while he was at work because she couldn't handle one more conversation about why it wasn't working. He was staring at her, then at the car seat. His face did something she couldn't read. "Isla," he said again, quieter this time, like he was testing whether she was real. She should have said something. anything. But her mouth had gone dry, and her hands were starting to sweat, and all she could think was, not here, not now, not like this. Matteo shifted in the car seat, made a soft noise, didn't wake. Adrian's eyes dropped to the baby, stayed there. She watched him do the math, watched his jaw tighten, watched him look back at her with something between shock and something else she didn't want to name. "Hey," she managed. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "What are you—" He stopped, ran a hand through his hair. "I didn't know you were in Miami. I live here." "You live here?" "Yeah, North Beach." He nodded slowly, like he was still processing, like none of this made sense. Someone walked past them, pulling a rolling suitcase that squeaked with every rotation. The couple by the concierge desk had moved on to arguing about brunch tomorrow. Adrian looked at the car seat again. "Is that—" "I'm actually just here helping a friend," Isla cut in. Her voice was polite, controlled. The voice she used at work when a patient was being difficult. "She's checking out, I should—" "Right, yeah, of course." Neither of them moved. The silence stretched, got uncomfortable. "So, you're staying here?" she asked, because she had to say something. "Just for a few days, work thing." "Got it." More silence. Matteo made another sound. This time his eyes fluttered open, unfocused and confused, the way babies looked when they woke up somewhere that wasn't home. He blinked up at her, then his face started to scrunch. "I gotta go," Isla said quickly. "Isla, it was good seeing you." She turned before he could say anything else, headed for the stairs, didn't look back. Her hands were shaking by the time she hit the second-floor landing. Carmen took one look at her face and said, "What happened?" "Nothing." Isla set the car seat down carefully. Matteo was fussing now, working up to a real cry. She unclipped him, lifted him out, held him against her shoulder. He settled almost immediately, his cheek warm against her neck. "You look like you saw a ghost." "I ran into someone downstairs." "Someone bad?" "Someone I didn't expect." Carmen waited. When Isla didn't elaborate, she let it go. That was one of the things Isla loved about her. She knew when to push and when to just let shit sit. They got the suitcases packed. Carmen tipped the bellhop who finally showed up. They hugged goodbye in the hallway and Carmen promised to call when she landed back in Atlanta. Isla took the stairs down slowly, Matteo in one arm, her purse slung over the other shoulder. The lobby was quieter now. The arguing couple was gone. So was Adrian. She told herself she was relieved. She told herself it didn't matter. She told herself a lot of things on the Uber ride home. That night, after Matteo finally went down around 10, Isla sat on the couch in the dark. The TV was on but muted. Some crime show she'd seen 100 times. Outside, someone's car alarm went off, then stopped. She kept seeing Adrian's face. The shock, the confusion, the way he'd looked at Matteo. Her phone was on the coffee table, screen down. She picked it up, put it back, picked it up again. There were no new messages. She didn't know what she'd expected. They'd been married for 8 years. Good years at first. Back when they were building something together. When his company was just starting and she was finishing her degree. When they'd stay up late talking about the future, like it was something they could control. Then the company grew. He traveled more. She stayed home more. They talked less. Fought more. Tried counseling twice and quit both times because neither of them wanted to admit how broken they'd become. The divorce had been quick. Cordial even. They'd split everything down the middle. No kids to fight over. No complicated assets. Just two people who'd loved each other once and couldn't figure out how to anymore. Except there had been a kid coming. She just hadn't known it yet. The AC unit rattled. The upstairs neighbor was walking around, heavy footsteps that made the ceiling creak. Somewhere down the hall, a door slammed. She pulled her knees up to her chest. The TV light flickered across the wall. She didn't move for a long time. Adrian didn't sleep. He tried. Lay there in the hotel bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the sound of Ocean Drive through the window, music from the bars, voices carrying up from the sidewalk, the occasional siren. The sheets were too crisp, the pillows too flat. The room smelled like generic hotel lavender and the faint chemical scent of industrial cleaning products. He kept seeing her face, the shock in her eyes when she'd turned around. The way she'd held that car seat, careful, protective, like she was shielding something precious from him. The baby. He grabbed his phone off the nightstand. 2:47 a.m. He pulled up his calendar, scrolled back. 15 months since she'd left, since he'd come home to find half the closet empty, and a note on the kitchen counter that said, "I can't do this anymore." The math worked. The math absolutely worked. He sat up, ran both hands through his hair. It didn't make sense. She would have told him. Isla wasn't the type to just... But maybe she had tried. Maybe he'd missed something. Those first few months after she left had been a blur. He'd thrown himself into work, taken on projects he didn't need, traveled constantly. Anything to not think about the fact that his marriage had died slowly over 3 years, and he'd been too busy to notice until it was too late. He stood, paced to the window. The beach was dark except for the glow from the hotels. A few people still out walking, silhouettes against the sand. His phone buzzed. Work email. Something about the properties they were looking at tomorrow. He didn't read it. Instead, he opened his contacts. Found her name. Isla Keller, except it probably wasn't Keller anymore. She'd probably taken back Moreno. Why wouldn't she? Last message was from 15 months ago, right before everything fell apart. Her. I hope you're doing okay. Him. Nothing. He'd read it. Never responded. Too caught up in his own mess to think about how she might be struggling too. His thumb hovered over the call button. It was almost 3 in the morning. He locked the phone, set it down, paced some more. The room felt too small. Isla woke to Mateo crying at 5:30 a.m., same as every morning. She rolled out of bed, stumbled into his room, lifted him from the crib. He was soaked through, diaper. Onesie everything. She changed him on the floor because the changing table was buried under clean laundry she hadn't folded yet. I know, baby. I know. He stopped crying once she got him into dry clothes, started making those soft cooing sounds he did when he was content. She carried him to the kitchen, made a bottle one-handed while he grabbed at her hair. The apartment was already warm. She'd turned the AC off overnight to save on the electric bill, and now the air was thick and still. She opened the window above the sink. Outside, someone was already playing music, reggaeton, tinny and distant. Mateo drank his bottle in her arms, eyes half closed, one hand wrapped around her thumb. She sat in the rocking chair someone from her clinic had given her when they found out she was pregnant. The fabric was worn. One of the arms had a stain she'd never been able to get out, but it was the most comfortable thing she owned. She tried not to think about yesterday, tried not to think about the look on Adrian's face, tried not to wonder if he'd put it together, if he was doing the math right now wherever he was. Her phone buzzed on the arm of the chair. Text from her boss at the clinic. "Can you cover the front desk today?" Maria called in sick. She typed back, "What time? 9:05. She looked at Mateo. He'd fallen back asleep, bottle half finished, milk dribbling from the corner of his mouth. "I'll need to bring Mateo, that's fine. See you at 9. She closed her eyes, leaned her head back against the chair. The ceiling had a crack that ran from the light fixture to the corner. She'd noticed it the day she moved in. Meant to ask the landlord about it. Never did. The clinic was in Aventura, a 20-minute bus ride that took 40 when you factored in waiting and transfers and getting the stroller on and off. Isla had the routine down. Diaper bag, snacks for herself, bottle for Mateo, change of clothes for both of them because you never knew. She got there at 8:50. The clinic was one of those boutique places that catered to people with good insurance. Clean, modern, lots of plants, a coffee station in the waiting room that was nicer than anything she had at home. Dr. Rivera, the owner, had hired her 2 years ago when she'd been working as a temp at a dental office and had mentioned she was looking for something more stable, back when she was still married, back when life had made sense. "Morning," Dr. Rivera said when Isla came in through the back entrance. She was in her 50s, always wore bright colors, always smelled like the jasmine perfume she special ordered from somewhere in Colombia. "How's this little guy?" "Teething," Isla said. "So, you know, great." Dr. Rivera laughed, reached over to tickle Mateo's foot. He smiled at her, drool running down his chin. The morning was busy. Check-ins, phone calls, insurance verifications, the usual chaos. Isla set up Mateo's portable playpen behind the front desk. He entertained himself for a while with a soft book, that crinkled when he grabbed it, then got fussy, then she fed him another bottle, then he napped. Around 11, during a rare quiet moment, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She stared at it, let it go to voicemail. 2 minutes later, it buzzed again. Text this time. Same unknown number. It's Adrian, can we talk? Her stomach dropped. She set the phone down, picked it up, set it down again. Matteo was asleep in the playpen, one arm thrown over his head, the other clutching his crinkle book. She typed, "How'd you get this number?" The response came fast. I never deleted it. From before, right before when they were married. When he used to text her about what to have for dinner, whether she wanted him to pick her up from work, if she'd remembered to call the plumber about the leak in the bathroom. She didn't respond. Another text. "I'm not trying to make this weird. I just want to talk." She almost laughed. "It's already weird, I know. What do you want?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. To understand. She waited. When nothing else came, she typed, "I'm at work. I can't do this right now." "When?" "I don't know." "Tonight?" "I have a 6-month-old. "I don't have a tonight." More dots. Then, "Tomorrow. Lunch?" "I'll come to you." She should have said no. Should have told him to leave it alone. That they'd gotten divorced for a reason and dragging up the past wouldn't change anything. Instead, she typed, "There's a cafe on 71st and Collins, Cafe Colada. Noon. I'll be there." She locked her phone, stared at the wall. "You okay?" Dr. Rivera was standing in the doorway to the back offices, holding a patient chart. "Yeah, just family stuff." Dr. Rivera nodded, didn't push. "Let me know if you need anything." That night, after Matteo finally went down around 9, Isla stood in the bathroom staring at herself in the mirror. The light above the sink flickered. It always did. She kept meaning to change the bulb. She looked tired, hair pulled back in a ponytail that had gone frizzy in the humidity. Mascara she'd put on that morning smudged under one eye. The shirt she was wearing had a stain near the collar, spit up probably. She thought about tomorrow, about seeing Adrian again, about what she was supposed to say. The truth was simple. She'd gotten pregnant. She'd tried to tell him. She'd seen him with someone else and assumed he'd moved on. She'd decided to handle it alone, except now he knew, or suspected, and tomorrow she'd have to say it out loud. She brushed her teeth, washed her face, changed into the oversized t-shirt she slept in. In the living room, she sat on the couch with her laptop, pulled up her bank account. She had enough to cover rent and groceries this month, barely. The electric bill was due next week. She'd figure it out. She always did. Her phone buzzed, another text from the unknown number. "Thank you for agreeing to meet." She didn't respond. Outside, someone's car alarm went off, then stopped. The upstairs neighbor was watching TV too loud. She could hear the laugh track through the ceiling. She closed the laptop, turned off the lamp, sat in the dark. The next day, Isla dropped Matteo off at Carmen's sister's place in Kendall. Rosa had 3 kids of her own and had offered to watch him whenever Isla needed help. "It's no big deal," she'd said when Isla tried to pay her. "What's one more?" Isla still slipped $40 into Rosa's hand every time. She took the bus to the cafe, got there 15 minutes early, ordered a cortadito she didn't drink, sat at a table by the window. The place was small, family-owned, the kind of spot where the menu was half in Spanish, and the owner knew your order before you said it. It smelled like Cuban bread and strong coffee. She checked her phone. 11:58. At 12:02, Adrian walked in. He looked the same as 2 days ago. Dark jeans, grey shirt, hair that was maybe starting to grey at the temples, or maybe it was just the light. He spotted her immediately, walked over. "Hey." "Hey." He sat down across from her. The chair scraped against the tile floor. For a moment, neither of them spoke. "You want anything?" she asked, gesturing to the counter. "I'm good." Of course he was. She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup even though it had gone cold. Adrian leaned forward, elbows on the table. "I'm just gonna ask." She waited. "Is he mine?" There it was. She met his eyes, didn't look away. "Yes." He sat back, rubbed his jaw, stared at nothing. "His name's Matteo," she continued. "He's 6 months old, born April 19th. April. He was doing the math again. She could see it in his face. "Yeah. And you didn't—" He stopped, started again. "Why didn't you tell me? I tried." "When?" "Right after I found out. Maybe 2 months after I left. I went to that Italian place near your office, the one you used to go to on Thursdays." His expression shifted. Recognition. "Thought you were there with someone," Isla said. Her voice stayed even, laughing, holding her hand, "and I thought you'd moved on. I thought—" "That was Rebecca from work," he interrupted. "We were celebrating. She'd just gotten engaged." Isla stopped. We weren't—" He shook his head. "I haven't been with anyone since you left." The words sat between them. "I didn't know that," she said quietly. "You should have asked. You should have been someone I could ask." That landed. He looked down at his hands. "You're right." The cafe door opened. A couple came in, talking in rapid Spanish, laughing about something. They ordered at the counter. The owner called them by name. "So what now?" Adrian asked. "I don't know." Does Matteo— "He doesn't know you exist." Adrian flinched. "He's 6 months old," Isla added. "He doesn't know anything yet. I want to meet him." "Adrian, I'm not asking, I'm telling you." His voice was firm, not angry, just certain. "He's my son. I want to meet him. You can't just—" "I can. And I will." She stared at him. This version of Adrian, the one who decided things and expected them to happen, she remembered this version. It's what had driven her crazy during the marriage, the way he'd planned their entire lives without asking if she agreed, the way he'd assume she'd follow. "I'm not asking for permission," he said, softer now, "but I'm also not trying to make this hard for you. I need to see him." Isla's hands tightened around the coffee cup. "One meeting," she said finally, "somewhere public, and if you screw this up—" "I won't. You don't know that. Neither do you." "Fair point." She pulled out her phone. "Tomorrow, 3 p.m., Flamingo Park. There's a playground on the west side." He nodded, pulled out his own phone. "Send me the address." She did. They sat there for another minute, not talking, just existing in the same space. Finally, Adrian stood. "Thank you." She didn't respond. He walked to the door, stopped, turned back. "I'm sorry," he said. "For all of it, for not being there, for not fighting harder when you left, for everything." Then he was gone. Isla sat there until her coffee was cold, and the owner asked if she needed anything else. She shook her head. Outside, the sun was too bright. She walked to the bus stop and waited. Adrian showed up 20 minutes early. He'd been up since 5, couldn't sit still. Changed shirts 3 times before settling on a plain navy t-shirt that felt too casual, then too formal, then fine. Whatever. He drove from the hotel to Flamingo Park in his rental, a silver Camry that smelled like air freshener and the previous renter's fast food, and parked on the street 2 blocks away. The park was busy for a Wednesday afternoon. Kids on the swings, parents on benches scrolling through their phones, a birthday party happening near the picnic tables, balloons tied to the fence, someone's dad grilling hot dogs. The smell of charcoal and cut grass hung in the air. He sat on a bench facing the playground, checked his phone. 2:47 p.m. His hands were sweating. 40 years old, CEO of a company worth 8 figures. He'd closed deals with investors who could buy and sell him twice over. He'd given presentations to rooms full of people who wanted him to fail, and right now he was terrified of meeting a 6-month-old, his son. At 2:55 he saw them, Isla coming through the park entrance, pushing a stroller. She was wearing jeans and a white tank top, sunglasses pushed up on her head, her hair down and curling in the humidity. She looked different than she had during the marriage, thinner maybe, more tired, but still her. She spotted him, walked over. "Hey," she said. "Hey." She parked the stroller in front of the bench. Matteo was awake, chewing on a teething ring, his eyes moving between the trees and the sky, and Adrian like he was trying to figure out what anything meant. Adrian stared. The baby had dark hair, round cheeks, eyes that were somewhere between brown and hazel, like Isla's. He was wearing a little blue shirt with a dinosaur on it and shorts that showed his chunky legs. "This is Matteo," Isla said quietly. Adrian couldn't speak. Matteo looked at him, tilted his head, made a sound, something between a coo and a question. "You wanna—" Isla hesitated. "You can hold him if you want." I've never—" "Just support his head. He's pretty sturdy." She reached down, unclipped him from the stroller, lifted him out. Matteo grabbed at her necklace, a thin silver chain Adrian had bought her for their 5th anniversary. She was still wearing it. She held Matteo out toward him. Adrian's heart was pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. He reached out, took him. The baby was heavier than he expected, warm, solid, real. Matteo looked up at him with those wide eyes, serious, like he was deciding something important. Then he smiled. Just a small one. Barely there. But it was there. Adrian felt something crack open in his chest. "He likes you," Isla said. She sounded surprised. "Yeah? He usually cries with strangers. I'm not a stranger." The words came out before he could stop them. But they were true. This was his son, his blood, part of him walking around in the world. Isla didn't respond. Matteo reached up, grabbed Adrian's nose, squeezed, made a delighted sound. "Ow," Adrian said, but he was smiling. They sat like that for a while, Isla on one end of the bench, Adrian on the other holding Matteo, who seemed perfectly content to just exist in his arms and occasionally grab at his face or shirt. The birthday party nearby was getting louder. Someone had brought a speaker. Bad pop music was competing with the sound of kids screaming on the playground. "So," Isla said finally, "what now?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, what do you want from this?" Adrian looked down at Matteo. The baby had discovered his watch and was trying to put it in his mouth. "I don't know," he admitted. "I just know I can't walk away from this. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have right now." Isla pulled her knees up, wrapped her arms around them. "You live in San Diego. I can move. You can't just—" "I can. I have properties here anyway. I've been meaning to expand to Miami for years. I can make it work." "Adrian, you can't upend your entire life because I have a son." He looked at her. "Yeah, I can." She shook her head. "This is what you always did. You decide things and you steamroll over everything else." "I'm not steamrolling. I'm trying to figure this out. By making decisions without asking me. What do you want me to do, Isla? Pretend this isn't happening? Go back to San Diego and send you a check every month? I don't want your money. Then what do you want?" She was quiet for a long moment. "I want you to be sure," she said finally. "Because if you're gonna do this, if you're gonna be in his life, you can't just change your mind when it gets hard. He's not a project you can walk away from when you get bored." "I'm not gonna walk away. You did before." That hit him like a punch. "That was different," he said. "How?" "Because—" He stopped, tried to find the right words. "Because we were broken. Because I let you leave instead of fighting for you. Because I was too proud to admit I'd failed at something. But this—" He looked down at Matteo. "This is different." "How?" she asked again. "Because he needs me, and I need him, and I'm not going to make the same mistake twice." Matteo had gotten bored with the watch. He was starting to fuss, making little whining sounds and squirming. "He's probably hungry," Isla said. She reached into the diaper bag at her feet, pulled out a bottle. "You can feed him if you want." Adrian took the bottle, adjusted Matteo in his arms the way he'd seen people do it in movies. The baby latched on immediately, eyes drifting half-closed. It was the most natural thing Adrian had ever felt. "You're good at that," Isla said quietly. "Beginner's luck." "Maybe." They sat in silence while Matteo drank. The birthday party was wrapping up. Parents were corralling kids, packing up coolers, untying balloons. Someone's toddler was having a meltdown near the swings. "I have questions," Adrian said. "Okay. Was the pregnancy, was it hard?" Isla looked away. "It was fine." "Isla, it was what it was. I handled it. Alone. Yeah, I'm sorry. You keep saying that. Because I mean it. She turned to look at him then. Her eyes were tired. Not just physically, though he could see that too. The dark circles she'd tried to cover with makeup. The way her shoulders slumped, like she'd been holding herself up for too long. But emotionally tired. Worn down. Sorry doesn't change anything, she said. I know. And it doesn't mean I trust you. I know that too. Matteo finished the bottle. Adrian set it aside. Lifted the baby to his shoulder the way Isla had shown him. Patted his back gently. After a moment, Matteo let out a burp that seemed way too big for someone so small. Isla laughed. Actually laughed. Nice one, buddy, Adrian smiled. Is that good? That's great. Means he won't be gassy later. Good to know. The sun was starting to drop lower in the sky. The park was emptying out. A jogger passed by, earbuds in, not even glancing their way. I should get him home, Isla said. It's almost nap time. Can I? Adrian hesitated. Can I see him again? I don't know. Isla, I need time to think about this, about what it means, about what you being around looks like. I'm not asking for custody, I'm just asking to know him. It's not that simple. Why not? Because he's 6 months old and you're a stranger to him. Because I've been doing this alone and I have a routine and I can't just... She stopped, took a breath. Because I'm scared, okay? I'm scared you're going to decide this is too hard and disappear. And I can't let him get attached to you if that's what's going to happen. Adrian looked down at Matteo. The baby had fallen asleep against his shoulder, one tiny fist curled into Adrian's shirt. I'm not going anywhere, he said quietly. You don't know that. Yeah, I do. Isla stood, held out her arms. I need to take him. Adrian didn't want to let go, but he did. Carefully transferred the sleeping baby back to her. She settled him into the stroller, adjusted the shade, checked to make sure he was secure. I'll call you, she said. When? When I'm ready. Isla, that's all I can give you right now. He nodded, watched her walk away, pushing the stroller across the grass toward the park exit. He sat there on the bench long after she was gone. That night, Adrian called his business partner in San Diego. I need to move the Miami expansion up, he said. Garrett sounded confused. Up to when? Now, like next month. We haven't even finished the feasibility study. I'll handle it. I just need you to start the paperwork. Adrian, what's going on? He looked out the hotel window at the beach. The moon was almost full, reflecting off the water. I have a son, he said. Silence on the other end. You have a what? A son, 6 months old, lives here in Miami. Holy shit, with Isla. Yeah, I thought you guys got divorced. We did. This happened right after. More silence. Then, okay, yeah, I'll start the paperwork tomorrow. Thanks. You sure about this? I've never been more sure of anything. After he hung up, Adrian pulled up his contacts, found Isla's number, typed out a message. Thank you for today, it meant everything. He stared at it for a full minute before hitting send. 3 dots appeared almost immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, he liked you. Adrian smiled. Can I see him again? The dots took longer this time. Saturday, same place. 10 a.m., I'll be there. He set his phone down, lay back on the bed, stared at the ceiling. For the first time in 15 months, he felt like he knew what he was supposed to do. Isla got home just as the sun was setting. Matteo had slept the whole bus ride, which was a small miracle. She carried him upstairs, got him into his crib without waking him up, then stood in his doorway for a long moment just watching him breathe. He'd smiled at Adrian. He never smiled at strangers. But Adrian wasn't a stranger. Not really. He was Matteo's father, her ex-husband, the man she'd loved for 8 years and walked away from because loving him had stopped being enough. She went to the kitchen, made herself a cup of tea she wouldn't drink, sat on the couch in the growing dark. Her phone buzzed. Adrian's text. She read it, typed a response, deleted it, typed another one. He liked you. It was true, and it terrified her. When he asked to see Matteo again, she almost said no. Almost told him it was too much, too fast, that she needed more time. But then she thought about Matteo's face, The way he'd looked at Adrian like he was trying to memorize him. Saturday, same place, 10 a.m. She hit send before she could change her mind. His response came immediately. I'll be there. Of course he would. Outside, someone's TV was too loud again. The upstairs neighbor walking around. The building settling into night sounds she'd gotten used to. She finished her tea, turned off the lights, went to bed. Sleep didn't come for a long time. Saturday morning came with rain. Not the violent kind Miami got during hurricane season, just steady, gray, the type that made everything smell like wet concrete and turned the streets into rivers of runoff. Hila stood at her kitchen window watching it come down, Matteo on her hip making grabby hands at the water streaking down the glass. Her phone buzzed. Adrian, still on for 10? She looked at Matteo. He'd been up since 6, full of energy, babbling nonsense and refusing to nap. Taking him out in the rain sounded miserable, but cancelling felt worse, like she was looking for excuses. Yeah, maybe somewhere inside, though. The Children's Museum. Works for me. I'll meet you there. The Miami Children's Museum was in Watson Island, between downtown and the beach. Isla had taken Matteo once before, and he'd loved it, or at least he'd stared at everything with that intense baby focus that seemed like love. She got them both ready. Changed his diaper twice because he peed through the first one. Found a clean shirt for herself that didn't have stains. Wrestled him into the baby carrier because the stroller would be a pain on the bus in this weather. By the time they got to the museum, her shirt was damp and Matteo was chewing on the strap of the carrier, drool running down onto her shoulder. Adrian was already there, standing under the entrance overhang, checking his phone. He was wearing jeans and a black t-shirt, a jacket he'd probably brought from San Diego that was too warm for Miami even in the rain. He saw them, walked over. Hey. Hila shifted Matteo's weight. Sorry we're late, the bus took forever. You took the bus? In this? I don't have a car. He looked like he wanted to say something about that. Didn't. Let me get the tickets. I can pay. Isla. She let him pay. It was easier than arguing. And honestly, she was too tired to fight about everything. Inside, the museum was chaos. Kids everywhere, running between exhibits, shrieking, crying, laughing, parents looking exhausted. The smell of French fries from the cafe mixed with the artificial lemon scent of whatever they cleaned the floors with. Hila unclipped Matteo from the carrier. He immediately started squirming, wanting down. He can't walk yet, she said. I'll carry him. Adrian reached for him. Matteo went willingly, grabbing onto Adrian's shirt with both fists. They walked through the exhibit slowly. The grocery store one where kids pretended to shop, the vet clinic with stuffed animals, the cruise ship with the captain's wheel that every kid wanted to turn. Matteo watched everything with wide eyes. When they got to the music room, a space with drums and xylophones and some kind of rain stick, he made excited sounds and reached for a small tambourine hanging on the wall. Adrian grabbed it for him. Matteo shook it once, startled by the noise, then shook it again. Harder. He was delighted. He's got rhythm, Adrian said. He's got volume. Adrian smiled. It was the first real smile she'd seen from him since all this started. Not the careful, controlled one he'd used during the last year of their marriage when everything was falling apart. Just genuine. She felt something shift in her chest. Dangerous. They found a quiet corner near the baby area, foam mats on the floor, soft toys, mirrors on the walls. Isla sat down, her back against the wall. Adrian sat across from her, Matteo between them, still clutching the tambourine. So you're really moving here? She asked. Yeah. I've got a real estate agent looking at office spaces downtown. That's fast. I don't see the point in waiting. What about your life in San Diego? What about it? You have a company, friends, a whole... I can run the company from anywhere, and my friends will still be there when I visit. He paused. This is more important. Matteo had discovered a soft block. He was trying to eat it. What about the house? Isla asked quietly. The house they'd bought together, the one with the canyon view and the kitchen she'd designed. Selling it. That surprised her. Really? Yeah. It's too big for one person, and it's... He stopped. It doesn't feel like home anymore. Not without you. The words hung between them. Adrian, I'm not saying that to make you feel guilty. I'm just being honest. She didn't know what to say to that. Matteo had abandoned the block. He was trying to crawl, more like dragging himself forward with his arms while his legs kicked uselessly behind him. He made it about 2 feet before giving up and rolling onto his back. How long does the crawling thing take? Adrian asked. He's close. Maybe another month or 2. She leaned forward, tickled Matteo's belly. He squealed. Then I'm really in trouble. Why? Because then he'll be mobile, getting into everything. I'll have to child-proof the entire apartment. I can help with that. Adrian, I'm serious. I want to help with whatever you need. She pulled back. I don't need you to rescue me. I'm not trying to... That's what this feels like. You swooping in, fixing everything, making decisions. What's wrong with wanting to help? Because it's not about what you want, it's about what's best for him. She gestured to Matteo, who had rolled onto his stomach again and was gnawing on his fist. And you don't think me being around is what's best for him? I think... She stopped, started over. I think you being around is great, if you're actually gonna stay. But I can't build his life around you if you're not sure. I am sure. You say that now. Isla, what do I have to do to prove it? She didn't answer. Around them, the museum noise continued. A kid was having a meltdown near the entrance. Someone dropped something that shattered. An announcement came over the speakers about a puppet show starting in 10 minutes. Adrian reached over, picked up Matteo, held him facing out so he could see the room. The baby grabbed onto his arms, kicked his legs. I know I screwed up, Adrian said quietly. I know I should have been there. I know I can't make up for the time I missed, but I'm here now and I'm not going anywhere. You keep saying that. Because it's true. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to. But belief required trust, and trust required proof. And proof took time they hadn't had yet. Let's take this slow, she said finally. Keep doing these visits. Let him get used to you, and we'll figure out the rest as we go. Adrian nodded. Okay. They stayed until noon, got lunch at the museum cafe, overpriced grilled cheese that tasted like cardboard, fruit cups that were mostly cantaloupe. Matteo ate a few bites of mashed banana and then spit the rest out onto his shirt. I need to change him, Isla said, standing. I can do it. You've never changed a diaper. How hard can it be? She almost laughed. You really want to find out? Yeah, I do. So she let him. They went to the family bathroom. She laid out the changing mat on the counter, got a clean diaper and wipes from her bag. Adrian watched like he was studying for an exam. Okay, she said. First you... I got it. He didn't got it. It took him 3 tries to get the diaper on straight, and even then it was crooked. Matteo kicked and squirmed and grabbed at Adrian's face the whole time, but he didn't cry, and Adrian didn't give up. There, he said finally, picking Matteo up. The diaper was definitely going to leak later. See? Easy. Sure. I'm going to get better at this. You better. He looked at her then. Really looked. I will, I promise. Their eyes held for a moment too long. Isla looked away first. The rain had stopped by the time they left. The air was thick and humid, the kind that made your clothes stick to your skin. Puddles everywhere, reflecting the grey sky. Let me drive you home, Adrian said. The bus is fine. Isla, you're carrying a baby in a wet diaper bag. Just let me drive you. She was too tired to argue. The rental car was parked 2 blocks away. Adrian drove carefully like he was transporting something precious, which she supposed he was. Isla gave him directions. Up Biscayne, then across the causeway, then north on Collins. Traffic was light for a Saturday. A few tourists, some locals heading to the beach now that the rain had cleared. When they pulled up to her building, Adrian killed the engine. This is you? Yeah. He looked up at the building. 3 stories. Peeling paint. A broken window on the first floor someone had covered with cardboard. It's not much, Isla said defensively. I didn't say anything. You didn't have to. She unclipped Matteo from the car seat Adrian had insisted they install. The baby was asleep again, head lolled to the side, mouth open. Thanks for the ride, B, she said. Can I... Adrian hesitated. "Can I come up? Just for a minute. I want to see where he lives." Every instinct told her to say no, to keep that boundary, to protect the small space she'd built for herself and Matteo. But he was looking at her with those eyes, earnest, hopeful, trying so hard not to push, and she was so goddamn tired of doing everything alone. Fine, but just for a minute. They walked up the 2 flights. The stairwell smelled like someone's cooking, beans and onions and something fried. Music thumped from one of the apartments. A kid's bike was chained to the railing. Isla unlocked her door, stepped inside. The apartment looked worse with Adrian in it, smaller, shabbier. The crack in the ceiling seemed more obvious, the stack of unfolded laundry on the couch like a judgment. "Sorry, it's a mess," she said, setting Matteo's carrier down. "It's not. You don't have to lie. I'm not." He walked over to the window, looked out at the view, a parking lot, another building, a slice of sky. "This is good. You're close to the beach. Good neighborhood. It's okay. It's more than okay." He turned back to her. "You did this, on your own, with a baby. You should be proud." Something in her throat tightened. "I'm just doing what I have to," she said. "That's what makes it impressive." She didn't know what to say to that. Matteo stirred in the carrier, started to fuss. Isla lifted him out, held him against her shoulder. He settled immediately, made those soft, sleepy sounds babies make. Adrian watched them. His expression was unreadable. "I should go," he said quietly. "Okay." He walked to the door, stopped, turned back. "Can I take you to dinner, tomorrow?" "Adrian, not a date. Just dinner. You and Matteo. Somewhere kid-friendly." She should say no. She knew she should. "Where?" she asked instead. "Your choice." She thought about it. "There's a place on Espanola Way, La Sandwicherie. They have outdoor seating. It's casual." "What time? 6? I'll pick you up at 5:30. You don't have to." "I want to." After he left, Isla stood in the middle of her living room holding Matteo, listening to Adrian's footsteps fade down the stairs. The apartment was quiet again. Just her and the baby and the hum of the AC. She kissed the top of Matteo's head. "What are we doing?" she whispered. He didn't answer, just made a soft sound and tightened his grip on her shirt. Outside, a car alarm went off, then stopped. Adrian showed up at 5:30 exactly. Isla was still getting ready. Matteo had spit up on her first shirt, then knocked over a cup of water on her second one, and now she was wearing a plain black t-shirt that was wrinkled but clean. Her hair was up in a messy bun, no makeup except some concealer under her eyes that wasn't doing much. "Sorry," she said when she opened the door. "Give me 2 more minutes." "Take your time." She left him in the living room with Matteo while she went to grab the diaper bag. When she came back, Adrian was on the floor, lying on his back, holding Matteo above him. The baby was laughing, that full belly laugh that babies do when something is genuinely hilarious. She stopped in the doorway, watched them. Adrian was making ridiculous faces. Matteo was drooling all over him. Neither of them seemed to care. Something in her chest went tight. "Ready?" she asked. Adrian sat up, still holding Matteo. "Yeah. You okay?" "Fine." She wasn't fine. She was feeling things she didn't want to feel, things that were dangerous and complicated and could hurt her if she let them. La Sandwicherie was packed, Sunday night crowd, tourists, locals, college kids from the university. The outdoor seating area was strung with lights, tables crammed close together, the smell of grilled chicken and fresh bread hanging in the air. They got lucky. Someone was leaving just as they arrived. Adrian grabbed the table before anyone else could. Isla got Matteo settled in the portable high chair she'd brought. He immediately started banging his hands on the tray, making noise, loving the attention from the people at the next table who were cooing at him. "What do you want?" Adrian asked, looking at the menu board. "The turkey avocado and a lemonade." "That's it? I'm not that hungry." He ordered anyway, got her the sandwich, a side of sweet potato fries, the lemonade, and a fruit cup for Matteo. For himself, he got some kind of steak sandwich he barely touched. They ate in comfortable silence for a while. Mateo gnawed on a piece of mango, getting juice everywhere. Isla wiped his face 3 times, gave up on the 4th. "I found an office," Adrian said. "Yeah? Downtown, Brickell, top floor of one of those new buildings, view of the bay. Fancy. It's practical." He picked at his sandwich. "I'm signing the lease tomorrow." "That's fast." "I told you I was serious." She knew. But hearing it, knowing it was actually happening, made it real in a way it hadn't been before. "What about the house?" she asked. "Their house. The one in San Diego. Listing it next week. Already talked to a realtor." "Adrian, I don't need it, Isla. I need to be here." A group at the next table burst out laughing about something. Someone's phone rang. A waiter dropped a tray of glasses near the entrance and everyone turned to look. "You keep saying you're scared I'm going to leave," Adrian said quietly. "But what if I'm scared too?" That caught her off guard. "Of what?" "That I'm going to screw this up. That I'm not going to be good enough. That you're never going to trust me again." She stared at him. He kept going. "I know I messed up. I know the marriage fell apart and a lot of that was my fault. I worked too much, I didn't listen. I let us drift apart instead of fighting for us. But I can't change that. All I can do is show up now and keep showing up and hope that eventually you'll believe me when I say I'm not going anywhere." Mateo threw a piece of mango on the ground, reached for more. Isla automatically handed him another piece. "It's not that I don't want to believe you," she said finally. "It's that I can't afford to. If I let myself trust you and you leave, I'm not going to leave. But what if you do? What happens to him?" She gestured to Mateo. "He's already getting attached, I can see it, and if you disappear, I won't. Stop saying that like it's a guarantee. Nothing's a guarantee. We were married for 8 years, and that wasn't a guarantee." He flinched, but he didn't look away. "You're right. Nothing's guaranteed. I could get hit by a car tomorrow. You could decide you don't want me around. Life happens. But right now, in this moment, I'm choosing to be here. I'm choosing him. I'm choosing—" He stopped. "I'm choosing you. Both of you. And I'm going to keep choosing it. Every single day." The words hit her harder than she expected. "I don't know how to do this," she admitted. "Do what? Co-parent? Share him? Let you back in? We'll figure it out. What if we can't? Then we'll figure that out too." Mateo had finished his mango. He was getting fussy, rubbing his eyes. Isla checked her phone. Almost 7:30, past his bedtime. "I should get him home," she said. "Yeah, okay." Adrian paid. They walked back to the car in silence. The streets of South Beach were starting to fill up, people heading out for the night, music pouring from open doorways, the smell of cigarettes and perfume and the ocean mixing in the humid air. In the car, Mateo fell asleep before they even left the parking lot. Adrian drove the familiar route now, up Collins, past the hotels and restaurants and late-night shops. The radio was on low, some indie station playing a song Isla didn't recognize. When they got to her building, he parked but didn't turn off the engine. "Can I come up in?" he asked. "It's late." "I know, I want to help get him to bed." She should say no, should maintain the boundary, should not let him any further into her life than he already was. "Okay," she said instead. Upstairs, the apartment was dark and quiet. Isla turned on one lamp. Adrian carried Mateo, still asleep, while she got the bedroom ready. She changed the baby into pajamas, whispering to him, even though he didn't wake up. Adrian stood in the doorway watching. "You're good at this," he said quietly. "I've had practice." She laid Mateo in the crib, covered him with the thin blanket he liked, turned on the small nightlight that cast stars across the ceiling. They stood there for a moment, both of them looking down at the sleeping baby. "He's perfect," Adrian whispered. "Yeah, he is." They walked back to the living room. Isla expected Adrian to leave. Instead, he sat on the couch. "Can we talk?" he asked. "About what?" "About us." Her stomach dropped. "There is no us. There could be. Adrian, I know. I know it's complicated. I know you don't trust me yet. But Isla," he ran a hand through his hair, "I didn't just come back for him. I came back for you, too." She couldn't breathe. "When I saw you at the hotel," he continued, "holding that baby, our baby, something clicked. And it wasn't just about being a father. It was about the fact that I let you go, that I let our marriage die instead of fighting for it, that I was too stubborn and too proud to admit I was wrong. We were broken, Adrian. The marriage was... I know, but maybe we didn't have to be. Maybe if I'd tried harder. If I'd put you first instead of the company. If I'd listened when you said you were lonely instead of assuming you'd always be there. You can't rewrite history because you feel guilty. This isn't about guilt. He stood, walked toward her, stopped a few feet away. This is about the fact that I never stopped loving you. That the divorce papers felt like a death certificate for something I should have been able to save. That seeing you again made me realize I'd been going through the motions for the last 15 months, pretending I was fine when really I was just lost. Adrian, you don't have to say anything. I'm not asking you to feel the same way. I just needed you to know. The apartment was silent except for the hum of the AC and the distant sound of traffic. Isla's hands were shaking. I can't do this right now, she said quietly. Okay. I need to focus on Matteo, on figuring out what co-parenting looks like. I can't think about anything else. I understand. Do you? Yeah, I do. He moved toward the door, stopped, turned back. But for what it's worth, I'm not going anywhere, and when you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'll be here. He left before she could respond. Isla stood in the middle of her living room, listening to his footsteps fade down the stairs, listening to the car engine start and pull away. She sat on the couch, put her head in her hands. Everything was changing too fast. The next 2 weeks fell into a rhythm. Adrian came by 3 times a week, sometimes just for an hour, sometimes longer. He learned how to warm bottles and change diapers properly. He figured out that Matteo liked being bounced more than rocked, that he laughed when you made clicking sounds with your tongue, that he hated peas but loved sweet potatoes. They didn't talk about what Adrian had said that night. Isla couldn't. Every time she tried to think about it, her brain shut down, overwhelmed by the complexity of wanting something and being terrified of it at the same time. But she noticed things. The way Adrian always texted before coming over, never just showing up. The way he asked her permission before doing anything with Matteo. The way he'd started keeping a change of clothes in his car in case the baby spit up on him. The way he looked at her sometimes when he thought she wasn't paying attention. She noticed, and she tried not to think about what it meant. It was a Tuesday afternoon when something shifted. Adrian had stopped by after work, still in his business casual, grey slacks, white shirt with the sleeves rolled up. He'd brought takeout, Thai food from a place near his new office. They ate on the floor of the living room while Matteo played on his mat. The baby was getting better at the crawling thing, could actually move forward now, instead of just flailing. I talked to my lawyer today, Adrian said. Isla looked up from her pad thai. About what? About making everything official. The custody arrangement. Child support. All of it. Adrian, we talked about this. I know you don't need it, but I want it documented. I want there to be no question about my responsibility to him. She set down her fork. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. He looked surprised, like he'd expected more of a fight. I also want to set up a trust fund for him, Adrian continued, for college, or whatever he wants to do. Adrian, it's not charity, Isla. He's my son. I want to make sure he's taken care of. She couldn't argue with that. Matteo had crawled over to Adrian, was pulling himself up using Adrian's leg, bouncing on his toes. Hey, buddy, Adrian said, picking him up. You getting strong? Matteo grabbed Adrian's face, made a sound that might have been da or might have been nothing. Adrian's eyes went wide. It's just babbling, Isla said quickly. He's not really talking yet. But her heart was pounding because it had sounded like da. And Matteo was looking at Adrian with recognition, with trust, with love. They stayed like that, eating takeout, watching Matteo play, existing together in a way that felt almost normal, almost like a family. Later, after Matteo was in bed, they sat on the couch, not touching, just close. Thank you, Isla said quietly. For what? For showing up, for not giving up, for... She stopped. for proving me wrong. About what? About you leaving. You haven't. And I'm starting to believe you won't. He turned to look at her. I won't. I know. Their eyes held. The space between them felt charged, electric. Isla, he said softly. Yeah? Can I kiss you? She should say no. Should protect herself, should not blur the lines they'd been so carefully maintaining. Yeah, she whispered. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to change her mind. She didn't. Their lips met. Soft at first, tentative, like they were both afraid of breaking something fragile. Then deeper, his hand in her hair, her hands on his chest, everything else falling away until there was just this, just them, just the moment. When they finally pulled apart, they were both breathing hard. I still love you, he said. She closed her eyes. I know. Do you? I don't know yet, she interrupted, but I'm trying to figure it out. That's enough. He kissed her again, softer this time, like a promise. When he left that night, Isla stood at the window and watched his car pull away. Her lips still tingled. Her heart was racing. And for the first time in 15 months she let herself wonder if maybe, just maybe, they could find their way back to each other. Not to what they were before, but to something new, something better, something worth fighting for. The AC kicked on. Outside, the city hummed. She touched her lips, smiled. 8 months later, the apartment in Coconut Grove had floor-to-ceiling windows that faced the bay. Mornings came in gold and pink, light spilling across the hardwood floors, catching on the toys scattered near the couch, bright plastic things that played music when you pressed them, soft books with textures Matteo liked to explore with his fingers. He was walking now, stumbling, really. That toddler walk where every step looked like it might be the last one before gravity won. But he was determined, always moving, always exploring. Adrian sat on the floor, coffee going cold on the side table, watching Matteo toddle from the couch to the window and back again. Each time he made it, he'd look back at Adrian with this expression, half pride, half disbelief that his legs had actually worked. You got it, buddy, Adrian said. Come here. Matteo lunged forward, made it 3 steps, sat down hard, didn't cry, just laughed, got back up. The front door opened. Isla came in carrying grocery bags, her hair pulled back, wearing cut-off jeans and one of Adrian's old T-shirts she'd claimed as her own months ago. I got the stuff for dinner, she said, setting the bags on the kitchen counter. And that mango juice Matteo likes. They were out of the organic kind, so I got... She stopped. Adrian had stood up, was walking toward her. What? She asked. He kissed her, just like that. No warning, no preamble, just his hands on her face and his mouth on hers and everything else fading out. When he pulled back, she was smiling. What was that for? Because you're here. I'm always here. I know. And I'm grateful for it every day. She rolled her eyes, but she was still smiling. You're being weird. I'm being honest. Matteo had made his way over. He grabbed onto Adrian's leg, pulling himself up, bouncing on his toes the way he did when he wanted attention. Adrian scooped him up. Hey, little man, did you miss Mama? Matteo reached for Isla. She took him, kissed his cheek, breathed in that baby smell that was already starting to fade into little kid smell. He's getting so big, she murmured. I know. Soon he won't fit in my arms like this. Then we'll figure out new ways to hold him. She looked at Adrian, really looked. The grey at his temples was more pronounced now. He'd stopped trying to hide it. There were lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before. Smile lines, she'd started calling them. He looked older, tired sometimes, happy most of the time. They'd moved in together 3 months ago. It had been Adrian's idea, practical, he'd said. Easier for Matteo, better for all of them. And Isla had agreed because somewhere between the awkward first visits and the late-night talks and the quiet mornings making breakfast while Matteo babbled from his high chair, she'd stopped being terrified of letting him back in. They weren't married again. Not yet. Maybe not ever in the legal sense. But they were building something, a family, a life, a second chance that felt nothing like the first time and everything like what it should have been all along. "You thinking too much again?" he asked. "Maybe." "About what?" "About how different everything is now." "Good different." She kissed Matteo's forehead, looked at Adrian. "Yeah, good different." That evening, they had dinner on the balcony. Grilled chicken and rice and the vegetables Matteo refused to eat. The sun was setting over the bay, turning everything orange and gold. Music drifted up from somewhere below. Someone's party, laughter and voices mixing with the sound of the water. Matteo sat in his high chair, smashing sweet potatoes with his fist. He was covered in food. So was the chair. So was the floor around him. Isla had given up trying to keep him clean 10 minutes ago. "My lawyer called today," Adrian said. "About what?" "The trust fund. It's all set up. He'll have access when he turns 18. Isla set down her fork. "That's a lot of money. He's worth it." "Adrian." "He's our son, Isla. I want him to have options. To not have to worry the way you did." She felt tears prick at her eyes, blinked them back. "Thank you. You don't have to thank me." "Yeah, I do." He reached across the table, took her hand. Matteo threw a piece of chicken off the tray. It landed on the floor. He clapped, delighted with himself. "He's definitely your son," Isla said, "because he makes messes. Because he's stubborn. He gets that from you." "Sure." They cleaned up together, gave Matteo a bath which turned into a full-scale water fight, got him into pajamas, read him 3 books even though he only paid attention to the first one, put him in his crib with the mobile that played soft music and projected stars on the ceiling. "Good night, baby," Isla whispered, kissing his forehead. Adrian stood behind her, his hand on her lower back. "Good night, Matteo." The baby's eyes were already closing, thumb in his mouth. His other hand wrapped around the stuffed elephant Adrian had bought him. They left the door cracked open, the nightlight casting a soft glow into the hallway. Later they sat on the couch, TV on but muted, Isla's head on Adrian's shoulder, his arm around her. "You ever think about how different things could have been?" she asked quietly. "All the time. And I'm glad they're not. Because if we hadn't fallen apart, if we'd just kept going the way we were, we never would have ended up here. And this is better." "How do you know?" "Because we chose it. Both of us. We chose to come back, to try again, to build something new instead of trying to resurrect something that was already dead." She turned to look at him. "When did you get so wise?" "I've always been wise. You just weren't paying attention." She laughed, kissed him, soft and slow, and full of everything she'd been too scared to say for too long. When she pulled back, he was smiling. "I love you," he said. It wasn't the first time he'd said it. He'd been saying it for months now, and she'd been saying it back, but it still felt new every time, still felt like something worth protecting. "I love you too," she whispered. He kissed her again. Harder this time, his hands in her hair, her hands under his shirt, everything else falling away until there was just this, just them, just the moment. They made it to the bedroom, closed the door, fell into bed together. And for the first time since the divorce, Isla felt like she was exactly where she belonged. In the morning, Matteo woke them at 6:30, crying because his diaper was soaked and he'd thrown his elephant out of the crib and couldn't reach it. Isla stumbled out of bed, Adrian right behind her. They worked together, one getting the baby, one getting the bottle, one changing the diaper while the other started coffee. It was chaos. It was exhausting. It was everything Isla had been doing alone for over a year. Except now, she wasn't alone. Adrian carried Matteo to the living room, put on some kids' show with bright colors and annoying songs. Matteo was immediately transfixed. Isla brought the coffee, sat next to Adrian on the couch. They drank in silence, watching their son point at the TV and babble commentary neither of them understood. "This is good," Adrian said quietly. "What is?" "This. All of it." Isla leaned her head on his shoulder. "Yeah, it is." Outside, the city was waking up. Traffic building, boats leaving the marina. The day beginning the way every day did. full of possibility and unknown things and the constant work of living. But inside, in the apartment overlooking the bay, three people who'd found their way back to each other were exactly where they needed to be. Matteo laughed at something on the screen. Isla smiled. Adrian's hand found hers. The coffee was still warm. Final message. Some marriages don't end because love disappears. They end because two people forget how to fight for each other, because work gets in the way, or pride, or the slow erosion of connection that happens when you stop trying. But endings aren't always final. Sometimes they're just pauses, reset buttons, chances to look at what broke and decide if it's worth fixing. Real love isn't about never failing. It's about coming back after you've failed, about choosing someone again, not because it's easy, but because you've both learned what it means to lose each other. It's about second chances that don't erase the past, but build something better on top of it. And sometimes the family you're meant to have isn't the one you had. It's the one you rebuild, piece by piece, mistake by mistake, day by day, from broken things and hard lessons and the stubborn refusal to give up. What about you? Have you ever gotten a second chance with someone you thought you'd lost? Did you take it, or did fear hold you back? What did you learn about love and forgiveness? Your participation means a lot to the channel. Please share your thoughts in the comments. What about you? Have you ever had to choose between protecting yourself and taking a chance on someone who hurt you? How did you find the courage to trust again? Drop your story in the comments below. I read every single one. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button and subscribe for more emotional stories like this. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.